snippets together.
Oh. No, Terry
They
just
give you
said,
a
which
lollipop.
logo do you want to talk
Thank
about?
you. Can they give you a lollipop?
I don't know. I thought you were talking about Country Club. I mean,
No, we're going
Sunset Valley.
Yeah, we did. You were
Sure
okay
knows how
with
to
it.
keep
He
me
was
hanging.
okay
I'm
with it.
still
He
like,
was okay with it. Cal and,
I need some orange. I need.
Well, I don't.
I was on the fence.
Yeah, I don't love it.
Hello.
Okay.
Whatever.
Canada Goose.
we can,
It's not 6 yet.
So that means
Brian,
the
can you
Park
get some
District Highland Park is called to order at 6:00 p.m.
is it 6?
It's administratively and by
My
fee
watch
at
says
6
I don't
o'clock.
have my phone or,
5:59.
My computer
Yeah.
says 6.
6.
6, go ahead.
Okay.
Kathy, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bernstein. Commissioner Flores Weiskopf.
Here.
Commissioner Grossberg.
Here.
Vice President Runberg.
Here.
President Kaplan.
Here as well. Okay, are there any additions to the agenda? Hearing none. Park operations, golf operations, construction update. Amalia to present.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
Why are they wearing blue?
No closed session
Where's
today, right?
Brian's blue shirt?
Yeah,
Is there no closed session tonight?
Yeah, I went with purple tonight, or light purple.
Lavender.
I got the memo.
we're really paying it. We're paying attention.
All
don't worry.
right.
Okay,
Good
Amalia.
evening, everybody. Park and Golf Maintenance Building. We've been really making quite a bit of progress on buttoning up the building, and I know we talked a little bit last month about that was where we were headed, moving towards more interior work, but we needed to finish up what was going on in the shell of the building and outside. So the roof is installed, and I guess I'll go through the pictures. We've gotten some curbs going on throughout the site, so they've completed the curbs. That's an ongoing picture. Here's the roof, and all of the rooftop units have been set. We've got some plumbing installed. The windows and the frames have been installed with the exception of 3. Those are special windows that are they're almost like big picture windows that are statement pieces. So those are just coming in a little bit later. We have the concrete apron that's going over the retaining wall. It's almost like the connection between the building and the site, because the building and the site almost are acting as 2 separate pieces. This is the topping in the 2nd floor, started this week.
Did you
or
guys
end
put
of
your
last
initials
week.
in that?
No. This is the finished floor. This is what will be there when it opens. You can see the concrete ongoing. This is the concrete being poured on the 1st floor. Again, concrete being poured on the first floor.
Are there drains on the floor?
There's a drain. Let's see. This is the drain. It goes all the way in the middle.
Amalia,
Yeah.
would you go back one picture,
Sure.
please? Now they're showing that the inside of the building that we're building is the cement truck.
Oh yes.
Right.
It's a large
To
building.
give,
It's a
Yeah.
big
Oh
building.
yes.
I just saying, I
Yeah.
wanted to come back
Pointing
to
that
give
out.
the scale of
For scale,
what
yeah.
the facility is.
So
And if you're
the
working on
Like
first
the
floor,
shark in Jaws.
the first floor is very much like a garage. It's really tall ceiling. It feels very big. That's where all
We
the
have ceiling
cars.
fans in there also? Or?
There will be like the big units, the heating units.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
kind of, I think I know they were at least in the golf maintenance building previously. So that's the finished floor. There are the maintenance, the material bins and the finished floor on the 2nd floor. There are still portions of the 2nd floor that need to be topped, but we're making progress there.
The 2nd floor of the offices?
It's the office, and then there's also like additional parking area, and then there's the golf storage area.
Do we do our own mulching and stuff? Is that what goes in some of those bays, like pebbles and mulching? And is that what?
Yes.
Yeah. I just,
Soil,
again, I'm coming in late on
sand.
this. Got it. Yeah.
Okay, so looking ahead, we're going to finish up the top coat to the second floor. We're going to begin installing the masonry walls on the first floor and then move up to the second floor. And we're going to be completing the parking lot and the ramp down. The parking lot and the ramp down are, we're really pushing to get these going because of they are weather dependent, and so those are high on our priority list, and so we'll see those happening in the next week. And then the financial report. So we're making progress with our construction. All the construction expenses. You could see that the contingency dollars were up to $53,000 going towards contingency. And just to give you a little bit of a breakdown on what that's being spent on, we've talked about it. There's about $29,500 going to asbestos abatement. Around $10,000 going towards added plumbing vent lines, and that was a result of a permit comment that we got back from the city. There's vent lines for oil waste, and it was for the drains, vents for the drains on the first floor. There's like a triple basin that holds the oil. So it was just a comment back from the city. We need to make adjustment there. Another big item there on the contingency list, we added 3 slop sinks to make sure that we're improving efficiency and within the building and just improving operations generally throughout the building. And that's what a lot of them are. Smaller ones, like we revised how the mezzanine railing opens up so that it's safer for our staff. It's easier for them to load onto the mezzanine level, the pallets. Things like adding hand dryers instead of doing paper towels. I think those are the big ones. But yeah, generally permit comments and then just making our building a little bit more efficient for us to operate in.
Is the bottom floor heated?
The bottom floor will have those heating units, so there are no vents. The HVAC units are really supplying they're supplying the cooling and the heating for the second floor.
Yeah.
But the first floor is operating almost as a garage, so there will be like those large units hanging from the ceiling.
I think one of the things that we had talked about too, when at a recent meeting, was because we were building on the incinerator site, and that there was concern about what we might find, and we had a healthy contingency in the event that who knows what, if there's any dead bodies, for example, and when we were digging.
Or
But
arrowheads.
knock on wood, we're at a point now where we think that anything bad we would know about, so that going forward now, particularly since we're almost sealed in or winterized, that we should be okay. There are some issues with the parking lot, the apron area that we're working out right now with the team, but nothing going forward, I say very cautiously, but we feel that we're in good shape in terms of keeping this project on or under budget. And the contingencies that have been spent do not change the cost of the estimated maximum, or I think it's the EMP.
Yeah.
So you're not seeing change orders as you had at the rec center or at Sunset Valley. So we're hoping that we will continue on a positive financial trend with this project. So hopefully the bad things are behind us,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Is it on time?
It is on time, so we're still estimating a early February move-in.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Do we have to have the golf report?
Ryan, you got 5 minutes.
Take as long as you want.
His last one.
Yeah, that's my last one for the year.
Take 6.
So everything's done. The golf course is done. We do have some punch list items left to do, like drainage and a little bit of sodding left where they did some curbing and they hadn't put the sod yet. So they finished those areas this morning, and then we'll go through the course and identify any areas where more drainage needs to go, kind of on the out of play areas where we didn't disturb, but there's pockets of water still. So if we want to address those areas now or in the spring, we may do those so there's no standing water on the course after a rain. Here are some pictures. Liz had Jeff, I don't know his last name. What's his last name? Cohen out, and he took pictures a couple weeks ago. So he took some very, very amazing pictures. So a lot better than my iPhone. So here, I'll go through some of these. Here's the picture of the second tee box looking down the hole, kind of right along bobblelinks
Still
on the.
so weird that willow tree is gone.
Yeah, that willow, yeah. Here is 2 green looking back at the fairway. Here's a picture of 4 with the rock wall and the water gone. Here's a picture of 4 green. And one of my staff, our winter project, is all those dead, skinny ash trees in that woods right there. We want to clear all those dead trees out, clear the underbrush out, then just like kind of highlight the good trees that we do have in there, because it's kind of getting blocked right now from all the dead trees, and just kind of clear all that underbrush out right there. Here's another one looking through the river birches right along the right side of the pond on hole number 4. And this is number 5, green, looking out to 5 fairway. To the right is 6 green. And one thing we just finished up today, we spent a week going through all the bunkers, edging them, and then moving sand to the edges and getting them ready for play for next year. So we went through and edged everything. These aren't edged, but what we finished after he was finished that. Here's 9 green. Kind of this where the clubhouse is at. That's the roll-off area, and you got 9 green looking back at the fairway.
So you're sitting on the patio.
Yeah, we're sitting on the patio right now. This is 15. This is kind of over by the pool area. The bunker on the left side of the 15 green. This is where Pogo is at. Pogo's just kind of right there. And then last but not least, 12 fairway. Looking down 12 fairway from the bridge.
That's incredible.
That's so pretty.
It looks so hard.
Looks like University Ridge, that one hole with all the
Yeah.
bunkers there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing how it transformed from the summer until the end of October, how it looks now.
Get rid of the high tension wires.
Well,
Really
yeah,
good.
we always say we need to Photoshop those out.
Can't be like Photoshop it out or something.
Mountains behind it.
Yeah. Maybe a beach or ocean there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is all the pictures that I have right now. He took some more pictures this morning as the sun was coming up, and then tomorrow we're going to take a few more pictures with some models out on the course, just act like we're putting or swinging. So,
You mean models.
well, I mean, staff.
This is a great picture, by the way. This
I say the best one. I say the
is a
best one.
signature picture right
Yeah,
there.
that is. Kathy said we could put it on a postcard and just mail it out.
Sure.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So pretty much we're almost finished with any the billing for Wadsworth. We haven't been billed for October yet, so that is not reflected in the budget for the construction. We do have one more change order for irrigation repairs that when we finished up in October. We have one more coming for that, and a few more drainage spots and some extra cart path that we put in because some of the cart path was pretty bad that we went ahead and replaced. But for the most part, we came in under budget, or right on budget. Now, there is some other things that we will do. We still have to, buy some tea and green supplies for next year and do some landscaping with that contingency budget. But it was extremely, extremely successful, and I can't thank you guys enough, everybody. I mean, it was amazing experience.
Private toy.
I know.
Amazing experience.
So great.
Amazing.
Well, it's your
Does this
hard work.
include, are we going to re-asphalt all the paths?
No, we are going to, anything that that didn't get done will get resealed.
Okay.
So that's the only thing, and that's already in that price. That's already in that price. That's the alternate that we already.
But alternate, plus alternate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the bridges, the same thing with the bridges?
We're not doing anything to the bridge, like the railing.
Yeah.
We're gonna paint those and just kind of spruce them up. Then I think in our capital plan in 2019 and 2020, we have a replacement program that we're going to start with the bridges.
Parking
the de-
lot will come out of here also.
Correct. Parking lot will come out of.
What's the status of the golf carts? I don't know what the plan is for that.
We don't either.
Oh,
It's still under
It's
discussion.
still in
Yeah.
discussion.
What about 1 and 7? Because I haven't been there in about 2 weeks. so-
We have germination underneath we have them covered. We have the tees and the green covered with some permeable blankets that can kind of trap some heat underneath there to get some germination. So 1 and 7 green do have germination. There's grass growing underneath it. The fairways, not so much. I mean, a little bit. We do have some hydromulch left. So tomorrow they're going to hydromulch 1 and 7 fairway again, just to kind of give it a little bit of blanket for the winter, just to kind of protect
They're supposed
the
to,
ceiling.
I think Wednesday's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's just
powder.
a 21.
Yeah.
So I think the grass growing is done for the year after this week. So they're going to blanket that a little bit more on those fairways. I do have some straw mulch I'm getting. So a few areas that didn't grow in as well in the fairways, we're going to, in-house, we're going to go seed those areas, then blanket those spots, just a few littler spots in some of the fairways, just so that has a better chance to come up in the spring. And then next week, we're going to blow out the irrigation system on Monday, Tuesday. We're going to spray our snow mold on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we're also going to put down a dormant fertilizer application. So basically what that does is you spread the fertilizer on all the seeded areas. And in the spring, once the soil temperatures get up to a certain degree, like 45, 50 degrees, that fertilizer will release and the grass will start growing right away.
So I know some other courses had, they planted late, like even in the middle of November, and then they had issues the following year. Are you confident that all our planting was done in time and the grass germinated, so we're not going to have an issue next year with I guess the vast majority of the course looks like it's fine, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't tell you like 100% will be great because I just don't know what the winter is going to hold. But I'm pretty confident with what we have done so far and what we're going to do with the hydromulch to kind of put that blanket on the seed. We'll be fine. And any areas that don't come up really well, they're responsible to come back and reseed those areas real quick in the spring. And then the goal is to try to get everything filled in by the end of June, and then we have that month of July just to kind of dial everything in for the opening at the end of July, 1st of August. That would be the goal.
So how many of the greens are you going to cover this winter?
Just the last 4. The putting green, 18, 1, and 7. Everything else is filled in enough where you don't need to.
So the roots are far enough
Yep.
down where they'll survive the winter?
Yep, exactly.
And what about the fescue and the rough? How's that looking?
I mean, on the rough on 1 and 7, we had so much sod left that we pretty much sodded everything on the rough. But everywhere else is pretty good.
Okay.
Not too
That's
bad.
great.
Any questions?
It's great. It's exciting. Hope to go out there this weekend,
Yeah.
Sunday morning.
You want to be a model?
No,
Yeah.
you don't want to use a model, trust me. You want to sell the course, you don't want to discourage people.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. All right, from Ryan to Brian.
And Ryan is retired from reports for the remainder of the year.
Yeah.
He'll be
No,
back
we'll
in the
Take the winter off.
Yes. Dormant.
Yeah.
All right, so as Ryan has shown, our 18-hole golf course is turning out to be quite spectacular, but not to be too far overshadowed by our so-called 19th hole at the clubhouse, which includes our bar, our lounge area, the pro shop, and the lockers and the locker rooms. So a few months ago, Woodhouse Tanucci presented to the board some renderings of both the interior and the exterior design. The exterior has since been approved by the City of Highland Park Design and Review, and since then, staff has been working with Woodhouse and Tanucci on finalizing all of the interior details, and we've made quite a bit of progress. We're very close to being finished, and it's looking actually quite spectacular, I think. We have some reclaimed wood in the bar and in the pro shop area, and we think it's a very attractive and welcoming area for golfers to finish their game, and for people to come in and enjoy a bite to eat and a cocktail. So we are also finalizing the kitchen layout, which will include new appliances to help accommodate what we hope to be an expanded menu that we can offer some of our golfers. And the next steps really include approval of our contract management services agreement with WB Olson, which will happen at the December board meeting, and then completion of our construction documents for the bid packet. So we are on schedule to complete the construction documents before the end of this year, have them submitted to the city for permitting, and then we'll go out to bid in January. And the bid approval will come to the board in February, at which point the project is expected to begin in March and hopefully will be completed in June 2018.
Perfect.
Have we done a landscape plan yet?
No, there's not. That hasn't been done yet.
When's that get done?
So we need to finalize a landscaping plan actually on the course as well. So we're in discussion right now on if we might approach those together. So that'll happen in February, around that time.
Whatever happened with the fence? The
That was
10%?
approved.
That was
So,
approved. I couldn't
yep,
remember.
that was went to the zoning board appeal. Yep, and
That was around the garbage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
hmm
I thought there was some issue with that, but it got
Yeah,
resolved.
you need to get a variance to make it a 10-foot fence and that. And the zoning board of appeal voted unanimously based on, after an amazing presentation by Amalia, to approve.
here, but-
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
she left.
So, like, yeah, so,
Good try, though.
okay, but after she made a very
Forceful.
passionate and persuasive presentation to the zoning board of appeals, they approved it unanimously to allow us to exceed the height regulation to provide a 10-foot fence.
And we were just replacing a 10-foot fence with a 10-foot fence
Yeah.
anyway.
That
Well,
took
one
a
of the
lot.
questions was, why
Right.
are we even considering this if it's within the buildable area?
Yes.
So it was,
That's, why are we here?
yeah.
And there was I know there were some questions about the kitchen and about how did you, or are you still in negotiations about how to lay that out, or?
So, as far as the layout, we have a layout that's been proposed with new, as I said, with new appliances. And so we're finalizing that. We should get a final proposal back this week.
But there was some issue about wanting to
If
put.
Oh,
some
moving
location.
expense.
There's a location of the chicken.
So we did talk with the architect about how much it would cost and what would be involved with moving it, and most of the estimate came back at about $350,000. That includes moving all the water lines, all the gas lines. We would have to. We believe we would have to have a new sprinkler system in place for fire suppression, and in pricing out all those costs, it was estimated about $350,000. Plus, we would have to change the driveway where they bring in from the back the food supplies and things like that. So that would change the architecture, the design of the building. So they have to go back and change that as well. So all those costs involved, we really felt that it was. I think we have a really good solution. I mean, I think the kitchen, the exit from the kitchen to the bar area is actually really close in proximity. So while, you know, you probably could make an argument that ideally, if you were to start from scratch, you would put it right behind, but the cost really to do that where we're at right now in a renovation was not really, we don't think we'd get the return on that investment by just the proximity of where they're designing it now. I think we believe it'll be quite functional the way that it's designed. So that was our recommendation.
Barney, you had a question?
Oh, just,
And the architect agreed with that.
we're going to replace, aren't we, the signs on the, which is now the wooden signs?
The monument signs.
Monument signs, that's
Yes.
the word I couldn't think of. And do we have the design for that yet?
No.
Okay. Do we have to get any approval from the city for the signs? Cal?
I don't think so.
We didn't for Rosewood.
No, I don't think we do.
Okay, any other questions?
No, I encourage everyone to go out there, especially before the winter hits, and walk the course. It's spectacular. They've done an amazing job.
And before the colors and the leaves leave,
Yeah.
because it really, the low sun, all the pictures that you've seen have been the fall.
Yeah.
The ones
Yeah.
tonight, which are just beautiful with that lighting, it's,
It takes about an hour and a half to really walk the entire course, but it's well worth it, and it's about 8,000 steps if you're keeping count.
and if you want the express ride, we can make
No,
arrangements
you
to give
take
you
the
a
8,000
ridden
steps.
tour.
Steps.
Yeah.
Any of the steps.
All right,
Whichever.
thanks, Brian.
All right, thank you.
Annette? We'll start with truth and taxation.
I should have had my presentation first, and then you guys could have had the fun stuff to look forward to.
This is
the
fun.
stuff.
Okay. All right. It is that time of year again where I am coming to the board and discussing the tax levy. So, see if I can get through this. So just, okay. Let me collect my thoughts. At, the Finance Committee met on October 26th and discussed the levy request for tax year 2017, which which will be collected in budget year 2018. So that's what we are discussing this evening. Since the Finance Committee met, there has been some activity in Springfield regarding voting on and putting in place a 2-year property tax freeze. So why don't I move through the presentation, and then we'll just discuss that one at the end. So the first step in the levy process is passing the Truth in Taxation Resolution. It has to be passed at least 20 days prior to adopting the levy ordinance, which will need to be completed at next week's board meeting. And then the levy ordinance itself will be on the agenda at the December 15th board meeting for approval. So that's the timeline. Some factors, and this is just to give you a little overview of the thought process involved when we're looking at preparing our levy request. So factors that are taken in consideration is the CPI that we're required to use. It changes every year. So for tax year 2017, it's at 2.1%. I'd like to remind you, in the past, it's been at 0.7, 0.9. So this is the first year that we're actually seeing a jump in the levy. Lake County has provided us with a new growth estimate of an EAV of $18 million. We take into consideration all the operational things that we really do discuss during the year, the 5-year capital replacement, green print projects, the draft 2018, like the operational side of the budget. I'm also looking at my funding model, our projections, the fund balances, all of that is taken into consideration. So part of what makes the levy request difficult to compile is that we're required to submit the levy request prior to the assessor finalizing the EAV calculation. So the EAV that we're using is pretty much our best guess based on the estimate that Lake County can give us. And I'd just like to note that changing property values do not result in an increase or a decrease in taxes. because it's part of the formula. So as the EAVs go up and down, so does the tax rate. So I just want to kind of point that out to you. The tax cap ensures protection for the taxpayer by limiting the increase to the CPI, which this year I said was 2.1%, or 5%, whichever is lower, plus new growth. So this is the caveat when we talk about the tax cap. That's part of the formula. I just want to make it very clear. If the levy we request is greater than the cap limit calculated by Lake County, so when they go through, Lake County goes through, they're looking at our request, they figure out the calculation, the district will not receive an amount over the capped amount. It will be, our request will be reduced by the amount equal to the calculation made by Lake County. Does that make sense? So that's where there is some comfort to the homeowner. It almost doesn't matter what we request. If we over request, that will be brought down. The 2017 levy request is at $11,431,707, and this is designed to capture new growth related to the new property. If this growth is not captured during the first year the property is added to the tax rolls, it will be lost to the district moving forward. And then the other piece of it is the the support for the special recreation. The levy request is at 4 cents, like we've been doing for the last few years. I'd like to note that for the truth and taxation requirement, the resolution reflects an increase of 4.91%, or $535,000 over the prior year's extension. Because the district is not extending an aggregate property tax levy greater than 5% of the preceding year's final extension, a public hearing is not needed. So that addresses the truth and taxation requirement. Again, the district will be notified in the spring as to the final new growth calculation and the final extension, and then how much the district will be receiving.
Okay, this is my first one,
I know,
so.
but you seem to be nodding along, so I thought we were doing
The
okay.
EAD stuff, I got.
Okay.
I got some of the other things. You can talk about the total change and explain that paragraph again.
The truth and taxation resolution is a resolution, and it was included in your board packet. It's in our Park District Code that says if we are requesting a levy greater than 5% of the prior year's extension, then we have to hold a public
But
hearing.
this is 4.9175.
I'm keeping it right under the radar.
And
And plus, we'd have to put that notification in the paper as well.
why don't you explain the difference between new growth and the normal increase? How that works, how that plays in? Because we're limited to based CPI, 5% or CPI.
On current properties
current
related to, but new construction that is finished in the community, new growth. So if a home, just a simple homeowner, adds a bedroom or bathrooms and enlarges their home, that differential, that's new growth. New commercial business coming into the community, that's new growth. New residents, I'm thinking of some of the residences that have been completed, that's
The
new growth.
places on Laurel and the place
Thank
on
you.
Central.
I couldn't remember.
So
the street name.
Bernstein's house.
So Mrs. Bernstein's, yeah, new place, exactly. So we're
She's the
only-
owner, she owns the building.
So, but
It's my inheritance.
If we don't levy, because our levy is based on what we received from the prior year, increased for new growth, and the CPI. But if we don't levy enough, if we don't ask for
won't
enough, that, and then it's based on the next year,
Right.
we lose that
I get it.
opportunity. The
That
county,
stuff I got.
the county will not come back and say, oh, your levy request did not capture all your new growth, you could get a little more. They
Yeah.
don't do that. So
So
that's why.
But for
If you
existing-
overdo it,
for
then
ex-
they'll bring you back anyways.
Yes, and
Yeah.
to be very honest with you, I am going with this levy request, but I am a little concerned that we might leave something on the table this year, and that would It's a chance that you take every time. But because you don't know what the final EAVs are going to be, it is a chance you're taking every time.
And it's not worth the risk, in your opinion, to go over 5% because of the extra hoops you have to jump through.
That was the
Yeah,
opinion of the finance committee.
No, it's the
Yeah.
opinion of the finance committee and the park district.
Yeah.
I think it's not really me. I don't mind doing the extra work. That's not
I didn't
the
mean
point.
you
Yeah.
personally. I
No,
meant
no,
there's
it-
extra burden for us to have to
But
go
the-
above that 5%.
And it sounds like
Right.
it would alarm the residents, right?
Well,
No,
it's
no,
not
no.
about
It-
alarming
but-
the residents. It's also about taking all the other factors into consideration and trying to prepare a levy request that really helps with all the other goals that we have put in place. That's why I was discussing that we're looking at our 5-year capital, and we're looking at our funding model, and we're looking at Greenprint, and we're looking at operations. And the levy that's being presented to you, I believe, is adequate to make sure that our goals are going to be met, whether they be the 5-year replacement capital or the Greenprint projects, based on this levy request.
It's not that there's extra burden, it's not that there's a risk. We have been very fiscally conservative and are very conscious of the impact the taxes that we're seeking are on the homeowners. And, we're not going and saying, well, we need $20 million, let's tax everybody.
We're okay.
We're
If
asking
I-
for what we need.
If our funding model and the finance committee came to a decision that we do need to go over this 5% in order to reach the operational goals that we have set forth for the park district, I think the finance committee would have that discussion and then decide what to do. But at this point, we are operating and moving towards the goals that we have set out based on this.
And we discussed this at the finance committee, the way the model of the park district works is that, we have to levy a sufficient amount to satisfy the Greenprint, to satisfy our capital plan, unlike other taxing bodies, our sister governments. For example, the schools. If the schools need additional capital dollars, what do? They go to referendum. Okay? The city's able to raise water rates and do other things that we don't have the ability to do. This is really our only avenue because we as a board have made the decision, or as a policy, and it's an unwritten policy, of not seeking referendum financing to support our capital improvements. We have to do everything in-house, using what we have and what we get on an annual basis from the taxpayers. So in order to be fiscally prudent, we need to ask for a little bit more, but then it's better doing that than asking for a big chunk at one time, which other governments do.
So, to Cal's point, calculating, and this is just an estimate, but based on this request, a homeowner with a home about at $500,000 would see an approximate increase of $34 in our
Yeah.
line item on their property tax bill. I think 34, as opposed to a larger increase all at once. So it's just that incremental, keep moving along. I think everybody understands costs are.
I don't think the
you
park
know,
district was we never had a referendum. Have we ever had a referendum financing approved by this community?
I
Well,
don't
the
be-
only
When was the
one
last
that I
time
know
you
of was the
lakefront, but they withdrew
lakefront,
that.
and that
The-
was.
and that
Yeah.
was no.
So I don't think so.
I don't,
So unlike other government, this is all we can. This is all the money we have to maintain all our facilities and all our parks.
Yeah, I don't think Highland Park, from the 80s on, I don't think that this park district's gone for a referendum for
I don't think so
anything.
either.
Just the lakefront.
Yeah, and that was withdrawn.
And that's all consistent with the prudent management of the assets and the finances.
It's like was it the tortoise and the hare? Or like the tortoise, we just move slowly and
Yeah.
incrementally.
We're getting it done.
okay, so just some other odds and ends that I'd like to share with you. When reviewing the tax bills, because I know this question comes up once in a while, the Park District appears as one line item on a homeowner's tax bill. Lake County, the Forest Preserve, District 112, and District 113 all have 2 line items with a separate line item for pension. The city has 3, so the general city, the library, and their pension. Because pensions are included in our Park District rate, in our sole rate, to really make an apples-to-apples comparison, you have to add all of their rates together, their pension rate and their library rate, to see to their base rate to make it comparable with ours, since we only have one. I'm sorry. I've lost myself in my notes here. And then as we were discussing, we have not gone out for a referendum, we have not been able to pass a referendum. District 113 did, and District 112 is still working on it. And then something else to note, our collection rate are usually between 98 and 100%. And I would like to note that when that helps keep our levy requests year to year lower, because we're going out for requests, and then when we actually receive the money, that helps with the whole budgeting and our whole funding model and everything that we're doing. So it is important that this rate, the collection rate being at 100%, helps us keep our overall taxes at a minimum and at a slow growth. Currently, the city has one TIF, the Ravinia TIF, and as we've been discussing, the Briargate TIF will more than likely be approved at the December board meeting, the City Council's December board meeting. So I know we've discussed this before, but what that does, it freezes the EAVs that we will be working with, and then any incremental growth would be going to support the TIF. And then, as a reminder, the TIF lives are for 23 years. So, the property tax freeze. I've spoken to the board about property tax freezes on and off throughout the summer, and during this veto session, they have brought it back on the table. So, it's Senate Bill 851, which would impose a 2-year property tax freeze, and I believe at this point, but things are ever changing, and we did not receive, I know Liza and I were looking to see if there was going to be an IAPD update today, and I looked right before I walked into the meeting, and I haven't received one. So it's a 2-year property tax freeze, but at one point, the bond payments would be exempt. So the debt service, when you hear me talk about the debt service, that would be exempt from this. So it's more of focusing on the operational side of the tax levy. So the extension what we received in 2016 would remain the same for both 17, for budget years 18 and 19. So we would have the same amount for 3 years in a
So the
row.
requested increase of $500,000
Wouldn't happen.
would not happen.
Would not happen. So we would be receiving the $10,895,000. That's what we would be receiving for both fiscal year 18 and 19. Okay? But because it's still being voted on, they're still working on it. I've talked to some of the other park districts in the area, and everybody is proceeding with the levy process just the way we always have, with the intention of filing it with the county, just in case something changes. I would feel, but we all feel more comfortable having it filed, going through all the process, let it be like on the books, and then if the property tax freeze goes into place, so be it, and if not, we are asking for a $500,000 increase. So,
Most of that's new growth.
yes. Yeah, because it's $18 million worth of new growth is what they're estimating. That's a lot. Because last year it was only at $9 million worth of new growth.
So even though this percent change seems higher this year, it's really, the reason it's higher is because we're trying to capture the
Yeah.
new growth. Where in the last, really since the Great Recession, we haven't had a lot of new growth. Now, all of a sudden, in the last year or so, you're starting to see new development come to town, and in order to capture that, that's the reason why we have to levy where we're levying. And we had a very extensive discussion of this at the Finance Committee. So this is actually higher than years past, but it is nothing. It's not from current. It's actually new growth that we're trying to capture.
It's interesting that it kind of flies in the face of everything you're hearing from real estate agents and from just general, that people aren't moving here, people aren't building, people aren't investing here, and it sounds like that's not true, that new growth is something that's happening.
We have a wonderful community and hope people invest and continue to develop in this community.
Absolutely, no, it's great.
Do we need to do anything with the truth and taxation resolution tonight?
Not tonight. It will be included in next,
Oh, on the 14th.
on the
Okay.
14th board packet, and we'll have to sign the resolution then.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
And we'll keep you posted on the
Yeah.
property tax freeze. We have reached out to our legislators, but we believe that it's going to
Can we
happen.
get an update on the budget, where we are in that?
Sure.
Sure. I would like to schedule a finance committee meeting for November 28th. You should have have already received an updated budget calendar because we moved the budget process, everything was just back a month. So I can redistribute that calendar if you would like. So a finance committee meeting will be scheduled for November 28th. The budget will be presented then. It will be also presented at the workshop meeting, and then in December. It will sit open for 30 days. If you're familiar with that requirement, the budget has to sit open for 30 days, and then it will be approved at the January board meeting. So, is that what you were looking for?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want to keep going?
Sure.
Briargate.
Briargate.
What? No.
So at the Finance Committee meeting that we had on October 26th, we also discussed the Briargate TIF. And Liza and I went back to the city with some additional requests to the IGA, and we are still kind of working through that process with them. In my memo, I kind of had hoped that we would have resolved that by tonight's meeting, and we are much closer, but that was not quite completed. So my update pretty much is where we're questioning with them now is the language on how to ensure that the park district, if a park is being built, that it, for my layman's terms here, is no cost to the park district. We don't have to get involved with the building, purchasing any property, the vertical building of anything, preparing the land, any of that we would just obtain ownership of it without there being any cost. So that is the language that we're working on with the city. They have some concern that the language that we have presented with them is a little different than their code. So they're looking for an adjustment. So hopefully we will have that completed by the board meeting. Because at next Tuesday's board meeting, we will need to vote on the IGA. And so I will have some direction from the board on how to vote at the joint board meeting, which is, the joint review meeting, which is set for December.
So has the Finance Committee, do you guys formulate an opinion about our support or not support of this, or how does that work?
I think that's what we'll be deciding at the board
In
meeting.
November.
So what we did as the
Next
finance
week.
committee
Is
is.
there a recommendation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we did at the finance committee is that we reviewed was it the proposed ordinance or whatever?
It's the IGA, yeah.
Before you-
It's
the proposed
intergovernmental
IGA,
agreement.
it was marked up, that was circulated, and then that is what they took to the city, so we don't know exactly what the final product's going to be, and that's what the board's going to vote on. So what we did is we attempted to negotiate that, and now the final product, after negotiating with the city, comes back to the park district. That's what this board's going to vote on.
So the committee doesn't make a recommendation?
No.
Okay, got it.
No.
Okay.
We just attempted to negotiate that on behalf of the board.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
One more?
one more, vouchers
Vouchers.
for this evening. Bills presented for the board's review on November 7th include checks written from October 19th through November 2nd. A total of $1,233,512.
And I've reviewed the vouchers and had no questions.
There are no unusual or ordinary expenses in there.
Great.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Now we're open to the public to address the board. Mr. Strohs or Mrs. Bernstein? Michael?
I'll just say very quickly, we had the final North Shore Yacht Club get-together on Saturday. Big success. We had a very successful season. We thank the board for all their efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay.
So that I can be seen.
And heard.
We might need some direction. Don't spend too
Okay. Do I have a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Open
Closed session?
Meetings Act? You see,
Would be the one.
Do you wanna-
C
do you wanna
5 and
have closed
2
session
C6. It'll be a 5-minute
Oh,
closed
okay,
session.
fine. I move, I make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in, oh, we have to call the roll. Kathy, call the roll.
Commissioner
please.
Bernstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores Weisskopf?
Aye.
Commissioner Grossberg?
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg?
Yes.
President Kaplan?
Aye.
All right.
We're in closed. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.